Buongiorno e ben trovati sul canale YouTube di Raffa Private Jet. Uno degli argomenti più caldi di cui sentiamo sempre parlare è sicuramente l'inquinamento. Un argomento che abbiamo visto adesso con l'automotive negli ultimi anni si è sviluppato tantissimo. Basti pensare alla Tesla che è nata nel 2003, pensate già, parliamo di 21 anni fa, per arrivare oggi, o perlomeno nel 2020, con dei numeri di produzione già di 1 milione di autovetture Tesla prodotte nel mondo. Io come guardo su giornali o sul telefono vedo solo pubblicità adesso di macchine elettriche, la nuova smart elettrica, quello elettrico, tutto elettrico. E ovviamente non poteva mancare anche l'aereo elettrico ed è il motivo per cui abbiamo deciso di fare anche questo breve YouTube con la Lilium GmbH, società tedesca, una delle più importanti attualmente nella produzione dell'aereo elettrico, e vediamo un po' cosa avrà poi da raccontarci la loro rappresentante. Immagino che anche qui ci saranno tante discussioni, commenti, ah no, l'elettrico non è affidabile, questo e quell'altro, ma ripeto, guardiamo cosa è successo all'evoluzione anche delle auto negli ultimi 20 anni. Grazie e buona visione. Abbiamo qui con noi la rappresentante della società tedesca Lilium, Eva Maria Beck, che è la Sales Director di Lilium. Tra un attimo passeremo all'inglese, ma poi avrete come sempre dei sottotitoli e quindi speriamo che sia una sessione interessante. Thank you very much, Eva, for coming here, being here. Actually, you are in Munich right now.
Yes.
We are in Lugano, but we found this very cool system where we can still communicate nicely live. And so, Eva, you are the sales representative of Lilium. Lilium is a company that was born in 2015, that therefore now has already 9 years of development, quite a bit of investments and money that has been put because of course, investors and people who believed and believe in it. You have approximately now 950 employees. And what you are doing is you are building basically the first European eVTOL. And here maybe we want to say straight away that we know there are other companies also producing eVTOLs, but why is Lilium so specific and so unique?
Yeah, exactly. Great question for the beginning. Thanks so much, Rafa. So what makes the Lilium jet special is that it's the only eVTOL jet in the space, meaning we don't have open propellers like the other eVTOL players, but we have 30 electric engines that are embedded in the wings of the aircraft. And this has some very important advantages. It basically implies that our aircraft is optimized for cruise flight, so we can fly longer missions, up to initially 175 kilometers operating range. And this means that we are targeting mostly regional connections. So we want to connect cities, and this is a big difference to most of the other eVTOL players, which often have, first of all, a bit smaller cabins, but they also fly shorter distances, so more inner cities, so they are more comparable to the classical air taxis.
Okay, so first of all, I think that the people watching here should have at least the first understanding of this little Batman. So here we have a little mock-up. We will show you later some more pictures of the effective Lilium. Here you can see how it will work. So it will be a vertical takeoff, we say.
And then it cruises like a business jet. So basically you can summarize that it combines the best of the helicopter and the business jet world. So takeoff and landing like a helicopter, but cruising like a business jet.
And we said the operating speed is 175 kilometers. And
the operating, yes.
The operating, and we have approximately 250 kilometers an hour that it flies.
Cruise speed, exactly.
Yeah, as a cruise speed. Okay, so the super interesting thing is that here we have what? So to describe, these are, Eva?
These are 30 electric engines that are embedded in the wings of the aircraft. And so this is really, let's say, the source of our competitive advantage, our proprietary technology, which we call ducted electric vector thrust.
So 30 engines means a lot. I mean, today people are used to fly with one engine or with two engines, eventually with three, with the beautiful Falcons. But to have 30 engines in terms of safety, it means the world, right?
Absolutely. And that's actually one of the big things that we are really focused on redundancy all over the aircraft. So we have 30 electric engines, we have 10 battery packs, and 3 flight computers supplied by Honeywell. So there's basically no single point of failure at the aircraft.
Okay, so actually, one important question: how many passengers get into the eVTOL?
So initially we will launch with our premium configuration where we can fit 4 passengers. And then later on we will launch our shuttle configuration where we can fit 6 passengers. And that's also coming back to the difference to other eVTOL configurations. Thanks to our jet configuration, we have a very long cabin. So for example, compared to a helicopter, it's around 50% longer compared to a helicopter of similar takeoff weight. And so we can also fit most passengers. So we are the only eVTOL player that can actually fit 6 passengers in the cabin.
But what is the idea? Would you like with the eVTOL, do you think that they will replace helicopters and jets, or what's the idea behind on the long term?
Yeah, so initially, let's say the most low-hanging fruit is definitely to replace existing helicopter transportation, because as we know, helicopters have a lot of shortcomings. Most importantly, obviously, safety, CO2 emissions, but then also helicopters are very loud, are very noisy. The cabin is much smaller compared to our aircraft. The operating costs are much higher because there's very complex maintenance. So that's one of a very natural or intuitive use case to initially replace existing helicopter routes. But then we also want to launch new high-speed connections where we currently don't have any, and where you would, for example, replace a car. And the big advantage compared to ground transportation is that with our aircraft, you can reach time savings of up to 70 or even 80%. Due to, first of all, the high cruise speed of 250 kilometers per hour and the ability to land and take off vertically, which means that you can come much closer to where the passengers want to fly.
Okay, so the desire would be basically to have as many eVTOLs as possible, of course, displaced ideally in let's say, smaller airfields, or even better in private properties, and to connect, of course, ideally city-city. So here for Lugano, for instance, our desire would be to connect Lugano with Milano, so, and not just Lugano Airport, but also Lugano City with Milano City, and therefore make this trip only 15 minutes vis-a-vis sometimes 2 hours with the traffic. And the same could be, of course, with many other small destinations. We're thinking of Capri, we're thinking of Imola, and of course of private properties in Como, a lot in England, right? Because in England, I think this project is very successful, considering also the geography of the country, where you have the big main town, city London, that is of course far away from the various mansions and private houses, so it becomes very, very interesting and convenient. The safety impact, because I think many people are scared, of course, as usual, as for something new. So the first reassurance is that there is a pilot, right?
Yes, it's single pilot operation.
So we are not yet with the idea of the drone. It's not a big drone, because many people just think, it's just a huge drone. No, that's not what it is, right?
No.
So Eva, at this moment, how are the authorities working and believing in this project? Do we get support from the authorities, and specifically can be ENAC, FOCA, but most importantly EASA?
Yes, yeah, absolutely. So actually we have been working with EASA already over several years, and they have been very much supportive. And EASA is actually applying quite high safety requirements to the certification of those vehicles. Actually the same as latest commercial airliners, which means a failure probability of 1 in 1 billion flight hours. And that's, for example, a big difference compared to helicopters, which are 100 to even 1,000 times less safer compared to our aircraft.
But so
And what helps
again,
us,
let's try again to understand better this safety, because that's really the key. So the fact that we have 30 engines and 10 batteries pack is clear, and that's already probably the biggest element. That's clear. What else would you consider as being so safe compared to another typical aircraft? What other elements
so
do we have?
it's very easy to fly for the pilot. So there's a full fly-by-wire system, which means that there's always an autopilot that supports the pilot. And actually, the worst that can happen is that the pilot just releases both inceptors, and then the autopilot automatically takes over, and the aircraft remains stable in all phases of flight.
Fantastic. And the pilot, how does it work with the license? So a pilot that today is a helicopter pilot could also become an eVTOL Lilium pilot?
Absolutely. So the requirement is that you need a commercial pilot license, and then you need to be type rated on the Lilium jet, which takes approximately 8 weeks. But any both helicopter and fixed wing pilot with a CPL could fly a Lilium jet potentially.
And now I have a question. How long do the batteries last? What's the forecast?
Yeah, so the current target is 800 cycles, but actually the tests which we have currently done have shown that for the average mission which we are planning to fly, the cycles are even longer than that. But what's even better is that for the customer, for the operator, this doesn't even matter, because Lilium offers a power by the hour rate, which includes a full nose to tail maintenance, where battery replacements, but also all scheduled, unscheduled maintenance is already covered.
Okay. So of course, many would be interested to know, what does this cost? We are not telling you unless you buy it, but what we can give you as an idea, as an indication, is that it's quite similar to the cost of a helicopter, pretty much. So at least we have an idea, of range and of costs, right?
Initially, yes. Initially, it's a bit lower than a helicopter, but what's important
Depends which
is that the
helicopter.
costs will. Huh?
Depends which helicopter.
Depends which helicopter, but let's say it's like 20, let's say 20 to 30% cheaper compared to a helicopter of similar takeoff weight. However, over time, costs will go down significantly, mainly driven by improving battery technology.
Here, the biggest aim that we have with the Lilium is, of course, the zero emission concept. I mean, we are working all towards strategies where we have zero emissions, of course, and zero CO2 emissions. And this is the international objectives that we have for 2030 and for the international goals of 2050. So, of course, can you confirm that the Lilium has zero emissions?
Yeah, 100%. So it's fully battery powered. So there are zero operating emissions. And that's very important, because so the Lilium jet can really help to drive forward decarbonization of aviation.
What about the noise? Because we have not discussed how important it is and what a limit it is nowadays to sometimes fly over a city, especially over the center of a city like Milan, with a helicopter, or even Rome. So right now, if I want to land in the center of Rome, that is not an airport, with a helicopter, I can't, because of the noise beside the safety. So what's the noise situation for Lilium?
Yeah, noise is also one of the very important aspects and advantages of our aircraft. And actually, the Lilium jet will be 6 times less noisy compared to a helicopter. And what enables this is, again, our technology, because we have the ducted fans, so the engines are embedded in the ducts. And so the ducts, they can capture the noise before it dissipates into the environment. And that's a huge advantage, as you said, to land close to populated areas. But it will also be an important advantage if you sit as a passenger inside the cabin, where people that have flown a helicopter know it's very, very noisy. You need a headset. So this will be very different with the Lilium jet.
So I had the luck to sit inside of one of these fantastic Liliums, both here in Lugano when we managed to bring one here as a mock-up, and then I went to see also the original in the HQ in Munich. And what I can say is that the comfort is incredible. I mean, you're really sitting like in a beautiful lobby. The space is 100% comfortable. You can stretch your legs. very, very cool. Everything is very minimalistic as a layout, and everything is almost futuristic. The other very nice thing I would like to say is that I've been also to Dubai at the Museum of the Future, and the only aircraft that was displayed as the realistic aircraft of the future was the Lilium. So that means that also Dubai, and of course that part of the world, is a big believer of this model. Can you confirm that there are a lot of agreements in place all over the world with the Liliums already?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that's really the exciting thing about our aircraft, that there is potential all over the world. So actually, whenever regional transportation is limited, or when you have a lot of congestion, when there's water, when there's terrain, our aircraft can generate a significant value proposition. And so, as you said, today we have MOUs in place, so memorandum of understandings, for around 700 aircraft with customers all over the world. And this includes big commercial airlines, like, for example, Saudia, business jet operators, like, of course, Air Dynamic, Arcos Jet, Volare Aviation, Globe, and so on, and helicopter operators.
Very nice. So I would just like to make another couple of comments maybe, and then I think we have the first idea. So let's just summarize once more. You say that they will replace aircraft and helicopters right now. I have my vision, and my vision is just that yes, they will replace in the future for sure. But at the moment, at the very beginning, I'm already very happy if operators and customers understand the added value and maybe at the beginning buy it as an extra. For me, for instance, it's great to have one normal car and an electric car, so to have both at the beginning until there is 100% trust. So I think this is also a consideration to make maybe at the beginning, just to understand, of course, that there will be limits, because we are not here just to say, now we'll go anywhere with this. A jet is still a jet and does certain jobs. For instance, aerial work will still be a helicopter work 100%, at least for now. But for sure, when it comes, as we said, to inter-regional and inter-urban mobility and transfers, this is absolutely the best. And of course, what would be very cool, and what I think is also being planned, is that wherever you land, you also have a small electric car maybe ready for you, maybe these mobility cars that then bring you to the next destination, and just make it all electric and very convenient. Again, the space for luggage is not enormous because it's really considered as a business aircraft. And so it's more for proper transfers from city to city. But I think that for Lugano it would be just unbelievable and really, really convenient. And so, of course, for the helicopter lovers, we want to ask you a little bit as a provocative question, but I'm sure you'll be very good at answering, on what are, once again here, the differences between a helicopter and an eVTOL, and what are the advantages or disadvantages between the two?
Yeah, so there's a set of really important advantages, and I would say first and foremost, safety. So our aircraft is designed and certified to the highest commercial aviation safety standards, which means a failure probability of 1 in 1 billion flight hours. And that's a big difference compared to helicopters, which have lower safety standards, or in other words, they are on average 100 to 1,000 times less safe compared to a Lilium jet. Then another important advantage is noise. So we all know helicopters are very noisy. They can be very annoying for the people in the surrounding area. And the Lilium jet, thanks to its technology, is actually 6 times less noisy compared to a helicopter.
Now the real question is, how do I charge again my eVTOL?
It's actually very comparable to an electric vehicle. So when you land, you need a charger. The charging technology is actually based on existing automotive standards. Then you have a plug and you just charge after landing. And a full battery charge actually doesn't take more than 45 minutes.
Fantastic. 45 minutes. So it's basically like with the Tesla right now, no? So I go to a colonnina, to a rechargeable column, and I attach it. Of course, to do this, you need also some platforms. It means that you don't land with a eVTOL just anywhere. You need to have some so-called vertiports, which are being built and planned at the moment quite consistently, and also in a large number. So there are some very serious companies that are really looking after that. So the vertiport is basically like a heliport, but has, of course, its stations where you can recharge.
Exactly. So our aircraft is designed in a way that we can land on a normal helipad, which actually makes it very easy because we have a lot of landing spots available from day one. All you need is, as you said, just a charger.
So we can just say that the idea is to have, for sure, multiple vertiports all over Italy, Switzerland, the various countries. And we have already, and you have already, some very good partnerships with serious companies that
So
build.
we are working, for example, with most of the German airports or with Urban V in Italy and France to develop the infrastructure and the network on the ground.
Excellent. Eva, I think that it's a very, very exciting project. Now, actually, the most important question, when will the first eVTOL fly? When will we see it flying?
Yeah, great question. And actually, we have just started into the industrialization phase because in December, we have started the assembly of the first full-scale Lilium jet at our hangar near Munich, which was really, really exciting milestone for all of us. And then we will start the testing campaign in the second half of this year. And the first flight of the full-scale Lilium jet is anticipated for end of the year. So actually very, very soon. And then beginning of 2026, which as we know is also around the corner, we want to have the commercial launch and deliver the first Lilium jets to our customers.
Fantastic. And Eva, do I see you then at eBase this year?
Definitely. So we will be at eBase like every year and then also in Farnborough.
Okay, so whoever would like to also come and see and maybe sit in it could come to Geneva or to Farnborough and maybe try it themselves to sit in it and understand how cool it is. And let's look at the future. Let's look at a better world. And thank you very much, Eva, for your time. I think it's an incredible challenge what you're doing, and you're very, very good at it. So good luck, and let's hope to fly very soon together on an eVTOL.
Thanks, Rafa.
Thank you. Bene, sicuramente adesso che sapete qualcosa di più su questo Lilium ci saranno ancora tante domande, tanti commenti, sicuramente critiche, ma è giusto così ed è per quello che siamo sempre affascinati da questo mondo che comunque è ricco di emozioni per quanto mi riguarda, ma comunque di discussioni, di diatribe, di evoluzioni, di tecnologie che avanza. Quindi grazie per aver ascoltato, mi raccomando scrivete i vostri commenti qua sul nostro canale e iscrivetevi se non l'avete fatto e buonissima serata, alla prossima, Raffa Private Jet.